Hello, everyone. Tom Slivick back with Richard Forster, Supervisor, District 1. How you doing, Rich?
Good, Tom.
Good to see you again. Hey, Richard, we're going to go over the agenda for tomorrow. You said it's pretty light.
Looks pretty light, but we'll see. You never know. Light agendas sometimes turn into long meetings.
Okay.
But first up, we'll talk about the an item that's coming back from the Amador County Recreation Agency, the reimbursement of $1,500 for some of the costs that went into the Prop 40 project there. There's an explanation in our board packet. As we all know, Tracy Towner has moved on to new grounds, but we do have an explanation of some of the costs. Garavaglia Architecture, they originally had a bill to ACRA. Tracy negotiated with them. I was actually on a conference call with Mike Garavaglia, and she negotiated him down. The actual amount owed was about $11,290.
What was the work done on, Richard?
What's that?
What was the work done on?
Well, this was all to do with architecture on the Pine Grove Town Hall.
Okay, I thought we were back there. Okay.
Yeah. So she got him to take $1,600 off of that cost. They then paid him $4,500. That was the amount remaining in the Prop 40 fund. They supplemented the rest with $3,000 from ACRA. And Mike Garavaglia, to his credit, he came down a lot on the bill, realizing that ACRA was in a fix on this one and going to have a hard time coming up with the money. The Volcano Community Services District has agreed and paid $1,500. So Ms. Towner was asking for Board of Supervisors to pay the additional $1,500.
Okay, so you got a lot of people to pitch in for this.
She got BCSD to pitch in.
Okay.
ACRA paid $4,500 and $7,500 towards that $11,000. So most of it came out of the ACRA budget, but ACRA budget where it was not budgeted.
Okay.
That's the problem. The $1,500, the thought was from Supervisor Boitano at our last meeting was it could come out of the Quimbiac fees. We're going to have discussion on that tomorrow. We've got a memo from Carolyn Ferguia, who's running the finances for ACRA. Okay. You know, she's being thrown into the fray on this one, and to her dismay, she doesn't know much about the Quimby Act or anything else, so she does done a lot of research.
A little bit of we can find out about the Quimby Act?
Well, Quimby Act, she's provided a lot of information on that.
Okay.
And she's also gone through Tracy's files and found out there is $78,600 in the Quimby Act fund for the 5 districts. Now, it is allocated by district. Whether we can use this or not for the Pine Grove Town Hall, it's got to be associated, because these are monies that are paid in to the Quimby Act from developers, and they're paid in when projects are done. The developers can either give property or they can give money. If they pay the Quimby Act fee, which isn't very much, but it adds up quickly. If they pay that fee, it can go into recreational activities. Is this a recreational activity with the Pine Grove Town Hall? That's going to be a question that our county council will have to opine and tell us whether it really is. The districts have plenty of money. There are actually 3 districts that come up and touch part of Pine Grove, 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
So District 3 has 28,000 plus. District 4 has almost 24,000, and District 5 has over 10,000.
And that money came from developing fees here in the county?
That's right. And there is a provision. I was reading some of the information from John Hahn, our former county council. There is a provision that it has to be used within a certain period of time or returned to developers.
Okay.
So all those things are going to come into effect tomorrow. I expect our county council, Greg Gillette, to have quite a bit to say about this, whether it's an appropriate use of the funds. Is Pine Grove Town Hall a recreational use? Well, sometimes it is. It's used as a library. It's used as a town hall. Sometimes it's used for recreational activities. So, and that's the reason the Prop 40 funds went into it, basically, and it qualified for that. So I would expect that it's probably going to qualify for the use of the Quimby Act dollars. Now, we have an update to our speed ordinances on several roads, and I was going to bring all the manuals in that were put together, but the studies that were done, but I didn't see a need to do that.
Okay, before we get into that, why don't we take a short break and we'll take that afresh, okay? So stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I'm with Supervisor Richard Forster. Go ahead, Richard. Tell us what we were talking about before we left for break.
Okay, our Community Development Department, which our Public Works Department is part of that, went ahead and conducted speed surveys, which they're required to do every 5 years, to make sure that the speeds are set accurately so the speed limit can be enforced. For instance, going down Hamrick's Grade, the speed will never be enforced there properly because the board set the speed limit too low. I think it was 55 and we set it to 45. And I didn't vote for that, by the way. I with Highway Patrol.
Is that on Ridge Road?
That's not one of these, but I think it is. This is Climax. That's not Hamrick's Grade, though. But
Okay.
On this one, if you set them correctly, CHP can enforce the speed limits. In the case of Hamrick's Grade, the board did not want to do that, but this involves a number of roads. Climax Road, Sutter Creek, which used to be Sutter Creek Volcano Road. Now they're calling it Sutter Creek County Road number 12. Irishtown Road number 106, Kennedy Flat Road, Shake Ridge Road, Willow Creek Road, Fiddletown Road. And with that, the studies basically indicated the speed limits that are on the roads right now are close to being correct. So if they're within that 5 mile per hour variable, then they leave them where they're at. I think the only case where a change was made is the first one, Climax Road. So on the basis of an engineering and traffic survey, the board determines that the speed limit instead of 35 would be 40 then. So you actually pop that up 5 miles per hour, and they look for that 85th percentile in these studies. If you have it set at 35, if most of the traffic, 85% of the traffic is going 42, then they have to bump it up to the next level.
Now, do they put, is that where they put the hoses across the street to measure
Yes.
the speed? Okay.
So in this case, most of the traffic was probably going 85% at least, were going closer to 40 miles per hour. So that's on Climax now, that's going to have to be adjusted if it's adopted by the board. Does that mean we agree with it sometimes? Not always.
This is where neighbors come on in and talk about the speeds. Just who usually speaks up at these hearings?
Yeah, I have one here I don't really agree with. I mean, you go down, all of them are going to stay where they're at, it looks like. Sutter Creek used to be Volcano County Road, but Sutter Creek County Road number 12 will stay at 35 miles per hour. Irishtown at 35, Kennedy Flat at 35, Shake Ridge at 40, and Willow Creek Road in my district will be staying at 45 miles per hour, and that's from one side, from the 124, Highway 124 side, what we call the Plymouth Highway, all the way over to Highway 16.
Okay.
I guess if you look at that and you drive it, vehicles are going fast on that road, probably too fast. But when they do these speed surveys, regardless of whether you think it's too fast or not, if it meets the qualifications for the speed survey, you have to post it like that to be enforceable by CHP. Now, a lot of people say, well, I never see CHP on some of these roads anyway. You know, they do the best they can with the limited resources they have
Right.
in our county. But the last one, Fiddletown Road, set at 25 miles per hour. So, you know, it's must be pretty windy there.
Yeah. Well, you've been on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Interestingly, I don't believe I've seen a speed limit sign on Irishtown. I live off Irishtown, but I could miss it. I mean, I might not have seen
Well,
it. Maybe it's up at the
better look for
getting
it
the
tonight.
wrong way.
It could be
Well, now
covered.
I know what the speed limit is, and so basically things are, you look to see to remain probably where they are, unless you get a lot of input.
Most of them are going to remain where they are. I have one out in Comanche, which was not included in these studies, which I'd like to see Village Drive significantly decrease because traffic just flies on that road. And the problem is,
Yeah.
if they're going too fast, there's a lot of bus stops on that road. If you put the speed survey strips down, then you're going to get the high speed limit. And on the other hand,
Okay.
CHP says if you put a sign up there that tells traffic to slow down, when the sign is not really warranted, then that could invalidate the whole speed survey.
So essentially, it sounds like you're saying when you do the speed survey for the CHP, you put stuff down, they look at it, and what people are driving at, that's the speed? Provided probably it's not over 55?
They want the 85th percentile to be the
Okay.
speed.
All right.
So if Comanche, let's say we have a Village Drive out in Comanche, if they find out that the 85th percentile is 50 miles an hour, you have to put it at 50. I think you can go 5 miles lower than
Okay.
that. So you could put it at 45, which is still fast for that road. But I think it is posted quite high right now at 40 or 45.
Okay.
Some of these, like Willow Creek Road, putting it at 45 miles an hour, that's fast for that road because there are a lot of driveways there that come out of that road. Fortunately, there is a straightaway that's fairly straight, so you have good visibility, but it's still fast to be traveling on that road.
Okay.
Another big one, and this was brought to us by our clerk recorder, Kim Grady, is a piece of legislation that she alerted us on last week, and this is going to be SB 391 by Desaligner, and this is just a horrendous piece of legislation. It's going to affect everyone in the county and everyone in the state if this happens. Some people it will affect positively, most people it will affect negatively. It is designed so that people that live in housing that's considered low-income housing, that they will be subsidized by this legislation. They'll be subsidized by you and I every time we go to our recorder's office and record a document. There'll be a $75 charge on top of that document.
Wow.
Let's go down the list. If you refinance, if you're foreclosed, mechanics lien, lot line adjustment, construction loan, business loan, child support, death of a spouse, you'll have a $75 fee
Is this
on top.
past legislation, or this looking to see whether or not
We're going
our
to
county
oppose-
agrees with it? Okay, so
We're going to take this to
you
the
and
board for an opposed
RCRC
position.
disagree with this as well?
Everyone's chiming in on this
Okay.
legislation. It's unfortunate that the former president of the California State Association of Counties, Rich Gordon, is a co-author on this bill, along with about 10 or 12 other Democrats. But this is
We get
where
a fire fee, we get a this fee, we get a that fee.
this is where these guys just don't get it. I mean, if you want it to help your county, then designate it for your county, but leave Amador County out of it, because we don't want our people to have to pay. If they go to do a quitclaim deed, it used to be $10 in our county. It would make it $75. If you go to do let's say something that a lot of people do, a lot line adjustment, fees now are $19 and $10. They would change to $94 and $85. Let's get into the big one. Construction deed of trust, $43 to $118. And almost the worst is a death of a spouse, an affidavit of death goes from $13 to $88. Just horrendous that this type of legislation.
Well, if you can find something that's happening, then maybe you could tax it, right?
That's
If you can
right.
define it, you can tax it.
I can guarantee our legislators, Senator Barry Hill and Assemblyman Bigelow, will oppose this, but this bill is called the California Homes and Jobs Act of 2013. It establishes that permanent ongoing source of funding dedicated to affordable housing development. And that $75 fee would be paid every time a recording for all of these things takes place. And they only have a partial list in the bill. If you go back to to another section of the bill, there's a list that is about 6 inches long of all of the things, subordination of agreement, release or discharge, easement, notice of trustee sale. It just goes on and on and on. And these guys just don't get it. They're not making it proportional. If you have something that's might have made a little more sense if you had something that was $10 and you put on a percentage increase, but instead $75 for everything.
Well, this is a transfer of wealth program.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's exactly what it is, because they even state that in the bill itself what the intended uses are. Sure, it's going to help a lot of people out there. Do people deserve to have affordable housing? Yes. Is this the right way to do it? Heck no, it sure is not the right way to do it. And I'm glad that our clerk recorder, Miss Grady, was on top of this and saw this coming, because this is one, real estate across the state will oppose this. You know that many boards of supervisors will oppose it, but there are others that are crazy enough to vote for something like this, or crazy enough to support it. We'll fight as hard as we can, but you can almost guess that if this gets to the governor's desk, what will happen from there. I think Governor Brown would be more inclined to sign a piece of legislation like this because he pretty much agrees with that transfer of wealth type of philosophy. Okay. And you know, I don't mind helping other people, and most of the board members put a lot of money back into the community, but when you see something like this, it is just robbing $75 from people every time they go to record a document, especially those people that have their spouse dies and they get just rammed on something like this.
Well, as I said, it seems like if you can find something and that you can measure, then you can tax it.
Yeah. Well, you can bet that our letter opposing this, and I think Ms. Grady already has a letter that she's composing, but I want the letter to be very strong and in no uncertain terms that our board wants to oppose something like this. Now, that's my position.
Okay.
I just
if
don't
you
know how
disagree,
my fellow...
go to the board tomorrow and speak on that, or
Yeah.
even if you agree.
I just don't know
with the
how my
position.
fellow board
Right.
members are going
Right.
to feel about
Well, we're
that.
going to go to a break. Richard, thanks for coming by.
Okay, Tom.
Stay with us.
You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN.